I'm Dana Denha, and you're watching FYI. Those winter blues might be setting in, but there are plenty of ways to combat those feelings with Washtenaw County parks. Watch as artists create masterpieces on ice at one of Ann Arbor's most popular parks.
Ice carving has a home in Michigan as local colleges compete, showing off their precision with power tools.
Today we have our 5th annual Ice Carving Festival at County Farm Park. We have ice carvers from different schools, University of Michigan, and today we have Macomb Community College here with some student ice carvers competing to see who can make the most creative design.
7 students were judged on creativity, accuracy, technique, and overall design.
The most challenging part for me is that once you do something, you can't really take it back. So if you make a bad cut, you just kind of have to roll with it. That's probably the most difficult thing for me.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it's probably just like the spatial aspect of it, like trying to think in 3D with a 2D template.
It is unique in that you don't just see finished creations, you see it from start to finish and see all the hard work that goes into it.
I went for a tiger. I just kind of picked it because I think tigers are cool. And I thought it would be fun to carve.
And then I did a dolphin just because it's fairly like a simple shape, but it's also pretty complex at the same time.
It's something you can't see a lot of other places. Like even outside of the state of Michigan, there isn't a ton of ice carving, and you can only do it in the winter.
First place from Macomb Community College, the Dolphin, for our first place winner for this year.
Experience this year's Ice Carving Festival on February 5th from noon to 4 p.m. at County Farm Park. Stay tuned and we'll be back with more in exactly 30 seconds. The Ann Arbor Public Schools are adding to their curriculum based on the ever-changing world of technology by introducing the elementary students to robotics. Watch.
Elementary robotics teams throughout the district gathered at Forsyth Middle School for some friendly competition.
We're hoping to get them excited about STEM careers, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. We find robotics to be one of the most interactive ways to do it.
Today we're doing the robotics competition, so we have to get blocks into collection zones or stack them, and we get points if we get robots on the ramps, and then we're looking for best designs in robots.
They see the problem, what they're supposed to do on the field. They get into small teams at their buildings. They come up with designs. They combine those designs as a team to create one robot each.
You're trying to move blocks from one place to another. Then at the end, you count up the points, and whoever has the most points wins. I think the most challenging part is when we have to stack, because when we have to stack, we have to reverse our directions. So if people say, okay, you have to go forward, when we stack, it might mean actually going backward.
Kids moving forward need these problem-solving skills, the soft skills to work in a team, computer science skills to be able to code, and of course we want to make all our kids makers so they can be either makers, skilled trades themselves, or just be better consumers knowing how things are built well.
It's the snowy season, and there's some need-to-know information for residents and businesses alike as they keep their sidewalks safe for pedestrians. Learn about snow removal guidelines in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hello, my name is Robert Keller with the City of Ann Arbor. Winter means snow and ice, and that makes it hard for people to get around the city, especially pedestrians. So as a resident and business, you need to do your part and help clear your sidewalks of ice and snow. What does that mean? Well, for residents, it means Any snow accumulation greater than 1 inch has to be cleared within 24 hours. If you're a business, any snow accumulation by 6 a.m. needs to be cleared by noon the same day. So help do your part, clear your adjacent sidewalks, crosswalk ramps, and any concrete bus stops that may be adjacent to your property, and help make it easier for people to get around the great city of Ann Arbor.
It can be hard to find the right TV series to keep interest peaked. That's why sometimes knowing more about a series can give people that extra incentive to watch in a time where there's endless amounts of viewing entertainment right at our streaming fingertips. Joining me is Drew Hopper, co-founder of Knuckle Sandwich Studios and co-creator of Organized Crime Paranormal. And that's what we're here to talk about today, Drew. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Organized Crime Paranormal and how it got started? Because we're talking about a lot about season 2 today, but I'd like to get people sort of acclimated with season 1 to know what the show's about.
Right. So the whole objective of the whole series is that, you follow a young man. His name is Robert Keene. And he recently just lost his mother, and he has to figure out a way to cope with the idea of not only losing his mother, but he also learns that somebody behind his mother's death is not just the regular average murderer. It's more than just that. It's like a paranormal thing. And so it really ties in with a good portion of the story. And Robert, throughout the whole series, or at least from the first 2 seasons, we do see him go through a very heavy tragedy, but he also goes through, he also meets Detective Sam, who is somebody who he kind of unites with in a way. He kind of just meets this person, and to some extent he meets him, and his whole world and the case, they kind of just unite together. But it's really cool because they figure out some things that they didn't even know what was even possible. So it kind of turns into this crazy like manhunt for like success, and they kind of turn into it turns into this this wild kind of goose chase of like who's behind it all, and who what's the next paranormal going to be like, so it's it's an interesting tie-in with everything else. But yeah, no, it's awesome. And it's a very twisted show for sure.
So you play Robert?
Yes.
So do you find, it's coming from an actor's perspective, do you find it difficult to kind of delve into these characters where like obviously his motivation is loss, and losing your mother is a very big loss. And I think like a lot of acting is sort of delving into your own personal experiences and getting that emotion. So talk about what it's like to sort of go there as an actor.
Yeah. So, for one, especially coming from me, because I love my mom, I love my dad, and, and they're my parents, and it, to even think about not having them here would be a very different thing for me. I'd be off on my own, doing my own thing. But that's kind of where I had to tie it in with the show. I had to literally vision what it would be like with them not here. And then those emotions start flying off the pages. And it's really cool because you get to see kind of the good and the bad from Robert's end of, pretty much his point of view. It turns into this wild thing where he knows that eventually it's something way more than he's ever comprehended. And he's got to really realize, well, if I don't choose to fight this, then there's no way that my mom will never get justice. You know what I mean? But he's got to do it in the right way, which means that, if he makes a mistake, which happens a lot in the show, you'll see that there's a lot of like intertwining, ups and downs, and, so he really finds himself, he finds himself in a very, very heavy pickle, and he can't seem to figure out the details of anything or everything, and that turns into this very, very like dark, monotone like twisted story where you've never seen that before, and that turns into something that nobody else has ever seen. And with Robert being so the twist in the show is that we've never seen him go through this before. And in season 2, it picks up a few months later, and that kind of makes everything so much like more twisted and fun. And and you see Robert go from being this really emotional person to like being this like, hey, I'm over here and I'm ready to go for it. And so that kind of makes things, at least for his character, everybody kind of just wants to try to help him, and everybody wants to kind of unite and make sure that he's okay. But at the same time, Robert knows that he also doesn't want to, at one point he figures that he's like, hey, I don't want to be a part of this because it's just too much on me. And my mom's already dead. I get it. Something else happened. And after he finds out who was really responsible for his mother's death, he doesn't really want to be involved in anything else after that. But obviously that continues the show.
Sam, what brings you in?
I heard a little report about the case that you're investigating, and heard that you are going through something of a dead end. I thought I'd come in and help. I have no idea who you should call, but I don't know if he's gonna like it. Hello? Your mother's missing.
My mom used to take me in these woods when I was younger. I never had a clear vision of why she took me through here, but it was always something I dreamed of when I was a kid. I'm not like my dad. My dad was a thief, criminal.
So far, nothing out of the ordinary. Still continuing the hunt for Robert's mother's killer. Although, this missing persons case, while unconnected, has drawn me to a serious halt.
I don't know if you've seen the show Veronica Mars, where there's like, there's a big mystery every season that has to be solved. And then, but there's also this underlying thing, for instance, like your mother passing away. And even if that mystery is solved, that's still something that weighs heavy on you, and you can bring that through from season to season. So are we seeing sort of like little mysteries throughout episodes? Or are we seeing one big mystery as we watch the series?
So right now where we're at with Robert, and without giving too much away, because obviously I want people to be able to see this.
Yeah, well, we don't want, we're teasing it. We're not spoiling it today.
Right, yeah. No, but Robert finds himself in obviously in season 1, he's just figuring out that his mom passes away. Everything is very dark for him, and also his dad's been in prison too for an incredibly long time, and he doesn't really have anybody to go to except for Detective Sam, who's played by James, who I know was in the past interview and stuff. But it's very, his creative process goes from like 1 to 10, and he immediately goes from like, hey, once he figures out that there's something more going on here, there's a lot more mystery to uncover. And at the end of season 2, we see Robert in a very, he's right when he's about to figure out stuff, something else happens. And then you see that obviously that opens up for a whole new chapter of what is to come in the future of the show, and what is to come in the next few years of what's going to happen and why, how, and, but that with the show ongoing, and with it being so, crazy and wild and fun and twisted, you have to think about it. You have to think about where will Robert go from here? Like, will he ever see his dad again? Will he ever figure out the details of what happens? Because at the end of season 2, there's a lot of intertwining, and there's a lot of things there's even more loss for Robert. And so obviously there's that pickle of like, hey, how do you, like where do we go from here? You know what I mean? Because Detective Sam, at the end of season 2, without spoiling anything, he definitely gives off he's trying to find where Robert is, and without spoiling it, it's very twisted and heavy in detail, and nobody really knows what's going to happen until we make another season.
Oh, so there's cliffhangers. You like to leave it on a cliffhanger.
Right. Yeah. Because like last season left off where in season 1, we left off where Robert and Detective Sam were in the woods, and Detective Sam runs out of the woods, and immediately he's just like, wait, if Robert was in the woods, then how is he yelling my name from a few inches away, And so obviously that's where the paranormal stuff kicks in, and then we kind of have it be like, hey, well, it's a very heavy and twisted show, and it's awesome. I mean, as the head creator and head writer of the show, I am not one to be like, hey, look, I have ideas for where it will go, but it is something that that we kind of have to look forward to, and it's like I said, it's very twisted, very fun, and it's filled with mystery. And as the series progresses too, like season 2 has a lot more adventure. Like we shot season 2 in Elk Rapids. The whole season was shot.
I was going to ask you, because I could tell based on your trailer that you guys were shooting on location somewhere. And so that's a pretty big deal, because a lot of times you guys find, local locations to shoot your videos. And this time you're like, we're going whole hog. We're going to find a locale that we want this season to be shot. And it looks great. And you can tell.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you. Yeah. And it's definitely, it's got some and it's funny because like in one of the trailers that I made, you hear somebody's voice. I don't want to give it away, but at the end of the trailer, you hear I'm looking for Robert, and it's in this dark monotone voice, and I don't want to give away who it is, but it cuts to black right after that in the trailer. So obviously I did that on purpose to make people know that, hey, there is somebody else there, but it's somebody else that could or could not be intertwined with the show. But the future of the show is really fun because, and we just wrapped up actually writing season 3 and 4 of the show. So we have like 2 more seasons in the works so far. And the way that it's going is that, we're following up with what happens, but there's going to be a little bit of a time jump in between, season 2 and then season 3. And we'll see obviously flashbacks in between then of like what happened, and and it'll be fun because we kind of get to see the good and the bad. And obviously some people have seen season 2 already because I released it on YouTube beforehand, but then I just put it privately, so now nobody can see it but me. But point being is like I kind of have to I deal with these things because I know that it's about to be released on Amazon Prime Video. And it's already on, the first season's already on Tubi too. So it's really like, there's a lot of places that it's going to be on in the upcoming year, and a lot of streaming platforms that are taking it up right now. So it's really
awesome. First season's on Tubi, which is like through your cable network. So you can just sort of go on Tubi and search for it, or you can say it into your Comcast remote. And so then season 2 will be on Amazon Prime, and that's not quite yet though. When will that happen?
So, it's funny that you asked me that, because season 1 and 2 are gonna both be on Prime. Both seasons
nice.
Are gonna be
so
out.
That'll make it easier for everyone to watch. So they don't have to look for different platforms.
So, as of right now, it will definitely be in the month of January / early February. I don't know the official date, but I know that at the end of January, early February, I would just say keep an eye out for it, because
let's say second week of February, you can find it on there. How do you make it happen? How do you get on Prime? How do you get your show to be on Prime?
So, well, thank you. Yeah. And, it is a very interesting, question, because, people always ask me that too. They're like, how do you get things on Prime? How do you I have like a 4-year contract with Amazon Prime, and I'm friends with somebody who works at Prime, and he offered me this opportunity, and he said, hey, look, I mean, you have to independently make the show, but we'll put it on our platform for you, so sure enough, after about like 2 years of making the show, we finally had this opportunity, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, we finally get to do it. But it was a very wild thing, and everybody was always so excited to hear about it, because obviously with season one being on Tubi and then both seasons being on Prime, that's like double the, double the platform there. And it really helps too. And with Tubi, I got it on Tubi because of a website called Film Hub. Film Hub is a website where you can go and just like distribute your own content, and they have tons of platforms where it can go out there.
And I'll tell you what, I love Tubi. I think Tubi is so fun. And I think there's like a lot of stuff on there that you don't actually know. Like you can like search and find like a ton of stuff that you wouldn't be able to find in other places.
Right. And it is such, and with Tubi being the first place that anybody's ever seen like the first season, it's funny because a lot of people have seen season 2 because I released it on YouTube, but a lot of people also haven't. So when people see that new installment, they're going to be like, "Oh wow, like this is twisted as all heck," So,
and I will say if you can watch it on Prime on your TV, your big TV in your living room, you're better off than like watching it on your phone on YouTube or something like that. I don't understand today's viewing habits where you watch everything on a tiny little screen on your phone. Where I have a huge TV in my house, I'm like, I'd rather watch it on my TV.
Right. Might as well go in. Yeah. I mean, it's such a, and like I was saying, the amount of twists and turns that are in the show and what is to come too. Like I just hired another actress too who is going to be another section to the story, but also in a very different way. Like you're going to see her coming into the show, and she's going to be, and this is in season 3 and 4, you'll see her kind of going off and doing her own thing, but she comes into the show with her own paranormal encounter situation, and it gets really like, and Robert obviously at the time doesn't, he's coping with the loss of like a lot of different people. I'm not going to say who it is, but but you will, obviously you'll notice that Robert is going through a tough time, and the whole show, season 2 arcs the change of the show. When you think about it, the rest of the whole series is just like this. It's like a turning point. It's like, you see Robert going through this tough time, finding out more and more clues, not wanting to be a part of it so much to wanting to be a part of it, and then meeting this, someone that he already knows from his past, comes back into his life and asks for help, because obviously Robert doesn't know a lot about the paranormal stuff, but because he's been involved in those cases for so long, and at that point he is very involved with the paranormal encounters. He knows a lot about it, and he knows that there's so much left to discover. I mean, Robert can't be the only person that that's taken up that, that's taken up that field of. He can't be the only person that's had a paranormal encounter of his own. So it's like, so Robert really puts himself in a situation where after season 2 and then season 3 and 4, you see him and he just goes, I mean, obviously it'll be tough for him because he sees this challenge, but then he also figures out, hey, this could actually end well. If I can figure out a way to fight this, great. I'll not only avenge, my mom's killer, but I'll also figure out those things that we haven't seen before. And that's really what the whole show is about, is just uncovering the mystery and figuring out the details. But yeah, it is awesome. And I love it. I love writing it, and it's awesome. And James, this may or may not be his last season, but I don't know. Season 3 may or may not be his last season, just because he's going off and doing his writing, and I'm really, really proud of him. And I'm really excited for what's to come with him too. But, I told him, I said, look, I want to be able to make one more season where we can like, not so much like write your character off and kill you, but more so just be like, hey, if you want to come back at any point in time, your character is there. So
sort of give them some closure for the time being.
Right. Yeah. So it's fun and it's cool, and I didn't really want to write him off completely. I was like, hey, like, you're dead now. Like,
Yeah. Or you can take a cue from soap operas, and everyone who dies can always come back to life.
hey, it's paranormal stuff. Chances are the ghost. He could be a ghost.
Oh yeah, he could be a ghost for sure. Yeah. Well, that's so exciting. I can't wait to see what's to come. I'll have to check out season 1 through beyond. We don't know when it'll end. It sounds like you have a lot on your mind. Brewing and this complicated character. And I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Of course. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.